Have you ever felt it at feeling that you and your partner are speaking completely different languages? Well, you are not alone. Divorce rates are climbing, and so many couples feel this massive disconnect. But what if the problem isn't that we've stopped loving each other, but that we've just stopped understanding each other? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into that rift, and most importantly, find some real tools to start fixing it.
It's a feeling that's just all too common these days. You know, you're living under the same roof, sharing a life, but you feel like you're miles apart. This is the great disconnect. It's a very real crisis in modern relationships where that feeling of connection just starts to fray, even when we have the best intentions.
And this right here, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It gets to the absolute heart of the issue. The love is often still there, you know? The problem is that we stop understanding one another. We fail to translate what our partner is truly feeling, what they're truly needing from us.
So this slide kind of frames that classic men are from Mars, women are from Venus idea in a modern way. On one hand, you have the Martian view, which is all about action and provision. Hey, I'm doing my part, I'm providing, what's the problem? But then, the Venusian view is all about emotional connection. You're here, but you're not really here with me. And the thing is, both of these feelings are totally valid, but they're operating on completely different wavelengths.
So why? Why are these two perspectives so worlds apart? Well, the answer isn't really about you or your partner failing. It's about a huge, massive societal shift that most of us never even talk about. It has left couples living in the exact same home, but operating on completely different timelines.
And this phenomenon, it actually has a name: transition shock. It's that feeling of whiplash, right? It's when the rulebook you were given for how life and relationships are supposed to work just doesn't apply to the world you're actually living in today.
And here it is. This is the aha moment. This slide just lays it out so clearly. A lot of men were raised with a 1950s playbook. You're the provider, you're the rock, end of story. But women today are living in a 2020s world, one that demands emotional partnership, self-actualization, the whole shebang. And this creates a fundamental clash in what we expect from each other. Okay, so this transition shock isn't just some vague, abstract idea. It shows up in very real, very specific ways. It creates these three daily battlegrounds in our relationships. So let's break down exactly where these fights tend to blow up the most.
And here they are. This is based on a live poll where people were asked, what do you fight about the most? And look, 3 things shot right to the top: money, phones, and in-laws. And as you can see, money is the big one. These aren't just topics, they're the main arenas where those old rules are clashing hard with new realities.
So let's tackle the biggest battleground first: money. The conflict here, it's not just about spending habits or budgets, it goes deeper. It's about secrecy and a breakdown of trust, which can lead to something called financial infidelity. Now, the really crucial thing to get here is the why. A man might be hiding money he's sending to his extended family, sometimes called the black tax. A woman might be hiding a secret savings account, for a sense of security. But look at that third point. This is key. The root cause usually isn't that someone's being malicious. It comes from a feeling that it's just not safe to be totally honest, and that points to a huge lack of trust. All right, the next divide, well, it's probably in your pocket or your hand right this second. It's the digital wall. Our phones, our social media, they've built these invisible barriers that run right through the middle of our relationships. This quote is just, wow. It's so powerful because it names the real enemy. You think you're arguing with your partner about not spending enough time together, but the real culprit is the algorithm that's literally designed to keep you scrolling. It's a third person in the relationship, constantly feeding you comparisons and making you feel like your life isn't good enough.
And really, underneath both of these huge divides is the issue that pops up every single day. And it's maybe the most frustrating one of all. It's a constant breakdown in communication that we can call the translation game.
I mean, this is such a perfect example. We've all been here, right? Look at the total disconnect. She says something that seems pretty simple on the surface: we never go out anymore. But what he hears is a criticism. She thinks I'm not doing enough, she's ungrateful. But what she actually means is a really vulnerable plea for connection. I miss you. This kind of failed translation happens all the time, and it just slowly chips away at the foundation of the relationship.
Okay, so we've identified the crisis, we've diagnosed the cause as transition shock, and we've looked at the battlegrounds. That's the problem. But now, here's the good news. We're going to shift to the solution. Let's open up a practical toolkit for connection. First up, a tool that is so simple, but honestly, it can be a total game changer. It's the 20-minute no-phone zone. Every single day, non-negotiable.
This isn't about having some deep, soul-searching conversation. It's just about rebuilding the simple muscle of being present with each other. It's how you start to break down that digital wall, one day at a time. For that huge money divide, the solution is what you could call financial radical candor. Instead of hiding the money you send a family, you make it an official line item in the budget. You agree on an amount, together. The goal here is simple, but it is so transformative. No more shame and no more surprises. You turn a source of secrecy into an act of teamwork. And finally, this tool gets right at that translation game. It's about understanding the core need underneath the words. Often the Venusian need is just to be heard, to vent, to be validated, but not to have the problem solved for her. In return, the Martian need is often to feel that his effort, his provision, is actually seen and appreciated. It's about learning to speak each other's emotional language.
So as you can see, these tools aren't just little tricks or quick fixes. They're the real materials you need for a much bigger project, building a stronger, more resilient bridge between these two very different worlds that are trying to share life together.
And this right here, this might be the most important takeaway of all. Relationships don't usually end with some big explosion. No, they fade away. It's a death by 1,000 small misunderstandings, 1,000 missed cues, 1,000 failed translations. The small, daily stuff, that's what matters way more than the grand gestures.
This final quote just says it all so beautifully. The wedding day, that's just one giant boulder. The real lasting bridge that connects two people is built patiently, day by day, with all those small stones of understanding, kindness, and intentional connection. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what small stone are you going to lay down today?
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we usually spend our time here, unpacking tech trends or productivity hacks, things to make you faster, smarter. But today we are looking at a data set that is, honestly, it's a little unnerving. We're looking at the mechanics of why relationships fail.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like the celebrity breakups we see on Twitter. I mean real, regular people just hitting a wall.
It is a heavy one today, but a necessary one.
It is. Specifically, we're looking at a pretty startling trend from the source material.
Yeah.
Divorce rates in Africa are hitting all-time highs.
Right.
And the sources we have, which are this really fascinating mix of sociological research and clinical case studies, they suggest this isn't just about the economy. It's not politics or some external thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be a fundamental breakdown in the language partners are using.
Exactly. And to be clear, when we say language, we're not talking about English versus, French or Swahili.
No.
We are talking about the emotional code, the way two people interpret what the other one actually needs. And the source material for this is mostly from a session they called the Love Lab.
Which, I have to say, sounds like a reality TV show.
It really does sound like a dating show, doesn't it? But no, it's actually a pretty serious seminar. It's led by a sociologist, Dr. Amara, and a relationship counselor, Coach Marcus.
Okay.
And it's a great mix because you have Dr. Amara with this high-level sociological insight.
The big picture.
The big picture, yeah, how society is shifting. And then you have Coach Marcus, who is basically in the trenches. He's listening to couples argue in his office every single day.
So it's the professor and the boxing referee in the same ring.
Yeah, it is the perfect way to visualize it, yes.
So what's their actual mission here? Because fixing divorce just seems way too broad. What are they trying to solve?
Their mission is to unpack a really specific dynamic. They use that classic Mars versus Venus framework.
Oh, yeah. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Oh, right. But they update it for this specific cultural moment. They argue that traditional expectations are just colliding head-on with modern realities, and that collision is generating enough heat to burn the whole house down.
Okay, let's get into that collision. Early on, they talk about the elephant in the room. What's the core tension they're seeing?
It's the speed of the change. The core idea is this. Traditional gender roles are evolving, but they're changing way, way faster than our internal psychology can keep up.
Okay.
Intellectually, we're modern. We've got the smartphones, the corporate jobs.
Dual income households, all of it.
Right. But emotionally, we're still operating on legacy software.
So we're trying to run the latest OS on hardware from 30 years ago.
And the battery is overheating. To show this, they did this pulse check thing with their audience at the start. They asked people to categorize their relationship, not, single or married.
Right, it was the feeling.
The feeling.
I saw this. The options were amazing. You had building, like a house. You had stuck, which was a brick wall. And then you had chaos.
which they represented with a tornado emoji.
A tornado. I mean, that is visceral. If
Yeah.
you're checking the tornado box on a relationship survey, things are not great.
Not great. It's unpredictable, high highs, very low lows, and just debris flying everywhere. And a lot of hands went up for tornado.
I bet.
And this set the stage for the diagnosis. They did a word cloud exercise. They just asked these couples, what do you fight about most?
Okay, if I had to guess, money has to be number one.
Money was number one.
Maybe. Kids. Or infidelity.
You're close. The other two were in-laws and phones.
Phones.
Yeah.
Really just staring at your screen too much.
Phones. And we'll get to that because the digital wall is a huge part of this. But that's the triad. Money, in-laws, and phones.
Wow.
But here's where it gets interesting. They didn't just list the problems. They used that Mars-Venus framework to explain why these things trigger, like, nuclear wars in the home.
Okay, walk us through that, because that whole trope can feel a little dated.
Yeah, right. A little 90s stand-up comedy.
Exactly. Men leave the toilet seat up.
All right.
Is there more substance to it here?
Oh, way more. They use the archetypes to describe this clash of worldviews. In this context, the Martian, typically the man, is coming from a place of provision. That's his whole operating system.
Okay.
His internal monologue is, I paid the lobola.
And just to pause there for a sec, lobola is the dowry, the bride price.
Correct. It's a huge cultural and financial milestone. So the Martian thinking is, I paid the lobola, I provide for this family, I am physically here, the contract is fulfilled, why isn't she happy?
So he sees it as a duty that he's discharged. Like, job done, where's my reward?
Exactly. He has ticked the boxes of good husband that his father and grandfather taught him, but then you flip it. The Venusian perspective, the woman.
Right.
She's not looking at the contract. She's looking at the connection. She's saying, okay, he's here. I can see him on the couch, but mentally, he's in his cave. He's on his phone. I feel like a single parent inside my own marriage.
So he thinks he's the chairman of the board, and she feels like she's the only employee.
And that disconnect leads to probably the most profound concept in the whole thing. Dr. Amara calls it transition shock.
Transition shock. Sounds like something you get after surgery.
It's a psychosocial diagnosis. And the insight is this. African men are largely raised for the 1950s, but African women are living in the 2020s.
Whoa. Okay, that's a huge statement. Raised for the 1950s, living in the 2020s. Unpack that. What does that actually look like?
It's conditioning versus adaptation. The source argues that men were taught by their fathers, by society, that their primary and sometimes their only value is to provide financially.
Be the rock, don't show weakness.
That's the 1950s model. It's rigid. It's the strong, silent type.
Right.
Meanwhile, women have been forced to adapt. The economic reality of the modern world means the single income household is, well, it's basically dead. So women entered the workforce. They had to learn to multitask, manage the home, earn a salary, self-actualize. They've moved into the modern era out of pure necessity.
So she's had to update her software to survive, but he's still trying to run the old program because, well, because that's what he was told a man does.
Precisely. So you have two people in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, but they are on two different historical timelines.
Wow.
The man is waiting for the appreciation that's due to a 1950s provider, and the woman is waiting for the emotional partnership of a 2020s co-pilot. And neither one is getting what they want.
That creates a massive amount of friction. And I'm guessing this is where the money arguments really start.
It is, and the source brings up a term that I found really sticky, financial infidelity.
Financial infidelity. Now, I hear that and I think, gambling away the savings or buying a secret boat, but they mean something more subtle.
Much more subtle and much more culturally specific. It isn't about malice, it's about secrecy. And they break it down into two behaviors: black tax and secret savings.
Okay, black tax is a term we hear a lot. It's the money professionals are expected to give to their extended families.
Right. Parents, siblings, cousins.
So how does that become infidelity? Helping your mom isn't cheating.
It becomes infidelity when it's hidden. The source suggests men often hide exactly how much they're sending to their family, not because it's morally wrong, but because they don't want to have the argument. They're afraid the wife will say, "Why are you sending money to your cousin when we need new tires?"
So he hides it to keep the peace. He cooks the books.
He thinks he's keeping the peace, but he's actually just eroding trust. And on the flip side, you have the women engaging in secret savings.
Squirreling money away.
Yes, putting cash in a separate account, literally under the mattress. And the source makes a really key point here. The root cause for both isn't greed. It's a lack of emotional safety.
Emotional safety, meaning they just don't feel secure enough in the partnership.
Yes. The wife doesn't trust that if a crisis hits, he will prioritize their nuclear family. Or she's worried that if the marriage collapses, she'll have nothing, so she builds herself a lifeboat.
That's heavy. It's
Yeah.
basically saying, I have to keep secrets from you because I need an insurance policy against you.
Exactly. And that secrecy just creates a wall. Which, speaking of walls, brings us to the third big one. The phones. Or what they call the digital wall.
This one hit home. I think it hits home for everyone. They did a poll asking who has more influence on your marriage. And the options were your mother-in-law, your friends, or Instagram and TikTok.
And social media is rivaling the in-laws. It's the new mother-in-law.
That is terrifying. How does an app have that much power?
Dr. Amara calls it algorithm envy. It's the idea that social media acts as a third person in the marriage.
Third person.
Yeah, a third person who is constantly critiquing you. So you're sitting there looking at your partner. Maybe they're tired, they're in sweatpants.
The unglamorous reality of life. The stuff you don't post.
The stuff you don't post. And then you look down at your phone and you see your neighbor's curated, filtered highlight reel. They're on a surprise trip to Dubai. The lighting's perfect.
And the caption is about how blessed they are. And you think, why isn't my life like that? Why isn't my partner doing that for me? I mean, I do this. Everyone does.
We all do. But in a marriage, it completely distorts your reality. You start comparing your messy behind-the-scenes footage with everyone else's movie trailer, and it just breeds resentment.
So we have 1950s expectations, financial secrets, and Instagram making us feel inadequate. It's a perfect storm.
It is, but the source has this really entertaining but also painful example of how this plays out. They call it the translation game.
Oh, I loved this part. It perfectly shows that Mars-Venus disconnect. The idea is that what one person says, the other person hears something completely different.
The intent gets lost in translation, and the example they gave was the phrase, "We never go out anymore."
Which sounds simple enough. We never go out anymore.
To you, maybe, but from the Venusian perspective, when she says that, she's not stating a statistical fact.
It's not a calendar audit.
No, she's expressing a feeling. She's saying, I miss you, I want quality time with you. It is a bid for connection.
Okay, so she wants a date night. She wants attention.
But the Martian, operating on that provision logic, he hears it literally. He hears it as an attack on his performance. He hears, you are failing to provide entertainment.
So his defenses go right up.
Immediately, he pulls out the receipts.
The receipts. We went to your cousin's wedding in March. We got pizza last Friday.
Exactly. He starts listing dates and times. He turns this emotional bid into a factual argument about logistics, and he thinks he's winning the argument by proving her wrong.
But he's losing the relationship because he just completely missed the point.
He missed the entire point. She wanted a hug, not a spreadsheet.
He's arguing facts, she's arguing feelings,
Yeah.
and they just fly right past each other.
It's tragic. And this leads to a specific case study they did, a hot seat moment with a guy named Kofi from Accra. And his situation is, it's a huge source of this transition shock.
Right, Kofi. His issue was that his wife now earns more money than he does. Significantly more. And his problem wasn't the money itself. It was, she doesn't respect my leadership anymore.
He felt his role had been completely usurped. He was genuinely asking if divorce was the only way out.
And that goes right back to that 1950s programming. If your only value is the provider and someone else provides more, you're fired. You have zero value.
That's it. If leadership equals the wallet and she holds the bigger wallet, he feels obsolete. And this is a critical moment because it forces a redefinition of what leadership even means today.
How do you redefine that for a guy who's believed it his whole life? I mean, money is power.
You pivot. You pivot to emotional safety. The source argues that modern leadership isn't about paying the bills. It's about emotional direction, presence, accountability. You lead by setting the tone of the home.
That sounds good on paper, but that's a hard pill for Kofi to swallow.
It is. And Coach Marcus, the counselor, had some tough love for him. He told him to stop hiding in the cave.
Hiding in the cave, meaning withdrawing.
Withdrawing. Sulking. Being passive-aggressive because your ego is bruised. Coach Marcus basically said, your wife doesn't need a richer man. She needs a braver partner, someone who isn't intimidated by her success.
Wow. Someone who can share power without being afraid of it?
That's the new definition they're pushing for. A masculinity that isn't so fragile.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Transition shock, financial infidelity, the digital wall. But what can people actually do? The source offered a toolkit, right?
They did. 3 specific strategies. And they're deceptively simple, but they take real discipline.
Okay, let's run through them. First one is the 20-minute no phone zone.
This one attacks the digital wall directly. The rule is you set up a daily ritual, maybe right when you get home from work, for 20 minutes. No screens, no TV, no phones, just presence.
20 minutes doesn't sound like a lot.
It's not, but you should try it. In a modern home, 20 minutes of undivided eye contact is rare. It forces you to actually look at each other and speak.
That's like a detox. Okay,
Yeah.
what's number 2?
The second one hits the money issue. They call it financial radical candor.
Radical candor. That's a business term usually.
It is, but here it's about tackling the black tax head on. Instead of hiding the money you send to your mom, you sit down together and you agree on a monthly support budget.
A support budget, like a line item in your finances.
Exactly. You say, okay, we have exactly $200 this month that can go to help extended family. That is the limit. And then when a request comes in, you decide together where it goes.
So it becomes a team decision. It removes the secrecy. It's we are helping the family, not I am sneaking money out behind your back.
Exactly. It brings the secret into the light.
I like that. It turns a problem into a shared project.
Okay, and the third tool.
The vent without fix rule. This goes right back to the translation game. So often, one partner just needs to vent. They just want to be heard.
And the other partner, the Martian, instinctively wants to solve it. Oh, your boss was mean. Here's a 3-step plan to file a complaint with HR. Right. He puts on his Mr. Fix-It hat, thinking he's being helpful. And that's the opposite of what's needed. The rule is to ask one question before you respond. Do you want me to help you fix this? Or do you just want me to listen?
That is so hard for some people. We want to be the hero, solve the problem. But sometimes the person just needs to be heard.
Exactly. And listening is an action. Active listening is a form of support. You're not doing nothing. You're doing the most important thing.
So, no phone zone, financial radical candor, and vent without fix. These are the bricks to build that bridge. As we wrap up, the source had this really poignant closing thought about how marriages actually end.
Yes, this stuck with me. They said divorce isn't usually caused by one massive event. It's not one big explosion. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
The accumulation of silence.
Exactly. 1,000 small misunderstandings. 1,000 times you chose to look at your phone instead of your partner. 1,000 times someone hit a receipt. It's the slow drift.
And the counter to that.
The bridge metaphor. They said a bridge between Mars and Venus is built with small stones of daily kindness, not one giant boulder of a wedding day.
That's a great way to put it. We put so much pressure on the big gestures, but the relationship is actually saved on a random Tuesday night when you put the phone down and just listen.
It's the micro habits. It's rewriting that internal software so you aren't reacting with 1950s expectations to a 2020s problem.
So if you're listening to this, here's a final provocation for you.
Go for it.
If we stripped away all the expectations of what a man or woman was supposed to be in 1950,
And if we turned off the Instagram algorithm telling you what a perfect life looks like?
right, would you actually know how to speak your partner's language?
Yeah,
Or are you just reading from a script that was written for a movie that ended 50 years ago?
that's the question. Can you see the person, not just the role you expect them to play?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.